It is Monday, March 3rd, 2025. This is another edition of Baseball Today. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan, and intern Sawyer along for the ride as well. Welcome back. Was it you, Tom Brady, and Matthew Stafford on a ski slope all together over the weekend?
That was not the case. No. I did go skiing, but that was last week.
Oh, okay.
Last week, I went to Deer Valley. Had a great time, Chris. I really found a passion late in life, and I feel like you always bully me about it, but, I have to have something.
Why am I
Chris.
bullying? I'm proud of you. I wish I could
That was
ski.
a facetious way to start this entire program.
No. It was the point. It had nothing to do with your skiing and everything to do with the fact that you hobnob with A-listers. I think it's kind of cool.
I have met Tom Brady. That was way back in the day, not through my guy, Matthew.
Okay. When was that?
I used to date somebody that was on the Patriots' sister.
Okay, let's move on, shall we? I'm still in Indianapolis, wrapping up work with the combine. Heading home. Had a great chance to see Brady, our youngest son. Goes to Butler. That was awesome. He's doing great. I miss him. What can I say?
I miss Brady too.
I know.
He's having the time of his life, dude. Him and I talk about the things that he's doing. And
all right, that's enough. Now we really have to move on. Tip of the cap. Corey Lewis of your Minnesota Twins. Did we see that he threw an 87-mile-an-hour knuckleball in spring training? Is that what that was?
Yeah, this guy's a stud. He was the 2023 pitcher of the year for the Twins. He's not. He's like kind of like a Waldron of the Padres. He throws a knuckleball, not necessarily a knuckleballer. But it's nasty. So he has a chance, man. He's got a chance to contribute this year for sure. As you can imagine, the strike throwing is kind of the issue. Like there's some walk stuff, but that's hard to catch right there.
Yeah. Well, have you ever caught a true knuckleballer? Have you ever played with one? I mean, there's guys screw around with it all the time when they're just throwing, but.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've stood there and caught an actual knuckleballer's knuckleball. No, but position players messing around, sure, but nothing like that.
Yeah, I love the knuckleball. Bring them back. I think every team should be mandated to have one on staff. That's what
we talked about. The Rays tried to do that way back in the day.
Yeah.
Every staff hasn't worked out, though.
All right, it's been a few days since we had the show, so let's get to it. Paul Skenes made his spring training debut over the weekend. 1 run, 4 hits, 4 Ks, 3 innings work. Of course, Skenes was Rookie of the Year in 2024. He finished 3rd overall in the Cy Young voting. I had his manager, Derek Shelton, on the Rose rotation recently, and we talked about if he could be one of the best young pitchers over the last 50 years.
To say it after having 15 or 16 starts or whatever he had, or 20 starts, I think it's hard to say. But I think with the tools that he has, the mindset he has, the way he works, he's definitely in that conversation with the best young pitchers that we've seen over the last 40 years. I mean, the pure stuff is as good as I've seen at this young of an age since I've been in the big leagues.
Are we just caught in the moment with him, or are we really looking at something that is bigger?
I don't know if you can say something is bigger, Chris. I feel like that's pretty strong there. I like what Shelty said. I mean, you're talking about a guy with the stuff. You can track the stuff. We know the stuff is elite. The age thing really doesn't matter to me. This guy looks like a freaking grown man. I don't see him as some young pup, which I think is telling. And then he meant to mention the mindset and the work ethic, and I think that is something that can separate guys. I mean, look, I've been in a lot of clubhouses. There are guys that kind of just show up and do their thing, and that works for them. There are some guys that work really hard that don't have that talent. When you have the two that work together, that's when you see greatness. It's the truth. So I have no problem putting him in conversations with being one of the best young pitchers. I mean, there's been a lot, though. You go back to Doc Gooden, Fernando Valenzuela. I mean, I go back to Scherzer and Verlander. I mean, those guys were incredible at an early age. But I think he would we like to see it for another season, sure. But I think that he has already put himself in that conversation, and I don't think it's a bad thing to say that, man. Let's appreciate what we got here.
So for the last 40 plus years, I'll say 50, even if you want to throw it, the only guys that I can remember that came up with this sort of electricity are Fernando, Gooden, Strasburg, and now him. And Jose Fernandez was close. He was really close. Yeah, he was great. He was electrifying. Skenes, his numbers. Now, Fernando was a separate category. Like back in the day, he was throwing complete games at an alarming rate. When in 1981, during the strike-shortened season, go check out his numbers and what he was doing. It was utterly insane. Different ball game. But what Skenes did last year, 1.96 ERA. That's the best of any rookie of the year starting pitcher. 2.14 ERA plus was the best of any rookie starting pitcher who had thrown at least 100 innings. He had 170 strikeouts. That tied him for 10th all time, but 8 rookies ahead of him all threw at least 190 innings. Skenes threw 133. So his strikeout rate, 11.5 Ks per 9, second best by any rookie starter behind Kerry Wood in 98. Kerry Wood is probably another guy I would put very, very close to that, maybe even in the same ilk. But I do believe that Skenes, if he's, I mean, I think we're really going to be looking at one of the best starting pitchers ever. He just physically, he looks like I can't believe I'm the same species as Paul Skenes. Really.
I'm looking at Verlander and Scherzer's like early numbers. They don't compare to what Paul Skenes did last year. Again, let's see him do it again, which I think he can. But they're not close. I do remember like the hoopla about them, but the numbers don't necessarily support what I just said earlier.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I'm in on, and I love that his manager's talking him up like that. I think it's fine because I think he can handle it. Some guys you don't want to do that to, but I think Skenes can, with his mindset, can handle it.
Yeah, I was really happy actually that Shelty went that direction. I think it would have been easy for him to say, well, Chris, let's see what he does. It's only 16 starts. But the fact that he's a former minor league catcher, so he knows what it looks like, he knows what it sounds like, and he wasn't bullshitting us. He was like, yeah, he's in the conversation. There's no question.
Another one we never mentioned. We never mentioned this guy. He just gets the shorthand all the time. Clayton Kershaw.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I think Clayton Kershaw above Scherzer and
Verlander. Definitely. I mean, Scherzer struggled to find the plate in his first few years.
Early on.
That was a real problem. But you know what, Kershaw? I think everything looks so smooth and perfect. Skenes just, every pitch is over 100 miles an hour. That was never Kershaw. He threw hard, but he wasn't throwing 100. So I think that's, and now he's adding this cutter. Like, are we kidding?
A bunch of different. I think he had 2 different pitches. It's tough because
now he's just fucking with everybody, isn't he?
His mechanics and his arm slot are so repeatable. It's like it's a nightmare for hitters. I mean, this guy's probably going to be able to command 4+ pitches for strikes, and if you can command 3, you're a stud. 4 with the type of velo that he brings is almost impossible.
Insane. I actually think it'll benefit him to play his first few years in Pittsburgh. I don't want to ship him out of town. I don't think.
Oh my gosh, you're shipping him out of town already.
No, I'm just saying. I do think that however long he stays in Pittsburgh could be beneficial to him. I don't think it'll be as fun for baseball fans because I'd like to see him pitch in October, and I'm not so sure that franchise has it in them at this point. But I think it could be good. Yes, go ahead, caller.
Do you think he gets to 200 innings this year? Do you think they let him get to 200? Be a 67 inning increase.
Well, but I mean, what did he make? 16 starts last year? So let's
23.
He made 23 starts.
Yeah. So give him another 10 starts.
Might not be
right
10.
Around there.
Let's say 7. Let's just get him to 30.
If you get 7, then he won't if he's on that pace. But I 200 still means a lot to me, especially for comparing guys, long term.
Yeah. Now the number's 180, by the way.
Number's 180, yeah.
Isn't that insane?
That's the new 200 is 180, yeah.
Once again, there's zero proof that if Paul Skenes, who's built like that, throws 200 innings, that he's going to spontaneously combust.
I bet you he throws 2 no-hitters this year.
2?
Yeah.
I bet you how many times does he take a no-hitter into the 7th inning?
Several.
I bet you it's
like
half
4.
dozen.
I was going to say like 4 or 5.
Hey, man, you know where he's pitching? You know where he's pitching opening day?
Ooh,
Who's got the
New
most
York?
who's got the most questionable lineup in baseball? That's
A
a
couple.
nice way of saying worst.
White Sox, Mariners, Marlins.
Marlins.
Okay.
He's at Miami on opening day. You don't think it could happen that day?
It could happen that day.
Right?
It could happen.
He could
Xavier Edwards might freaking lay a bunt down, though.
He could pull a Bob Feller and throw a no-hitter on opening day. How cool would that be?
It'd be really cool.
Awesome. Let us know. Where does he rank among the all-time rookies in terms of electricity? Everything he brings
You guys
with
are
him.
glazing. Stop glazing. That's what everyone's
You know what,
saying.
though? Who cares?
I'm a glazer. Call me Jay.
Flew out next to Jay Glazer. Hadn't seen him in years. It was good to see him. My guy. Looks like a human thumb.
He looks
awesome.
like Joe Rogan. Him and Joe Rogan, same guy.
All right. In the meantime, speaking of electrifying, Shohei didn't wait long to go to work. How was that first spring training at bat working out, Shohei?
3-2 pitch. That's hammered to left. This ball's heading back. This ball's gone. Welcome to 2025, Shohei Ohtani, as the show continues to roll.
I know everything sounds better in Arizona. That frickin' sounded like a rocket ship.
It always does off his bat. I just don't understand how he hits the ball so dang hard.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
How many homers?
This year?
Yeah.
40.
God, that's going to be
I think,
such a bummer.
I think 40 is, I feel like 40 is the benchmark for Shohei every single year, which is pretty crazy.
Isn't that ridiculous that we're all going to be like, oh, he hit 41 homers?
No, I know. People are going to start getting used to what he does, and we shouldn't. We just should never get used to it.
Let's get to the bigger topic, because this was beautiful. It happened here in Indianapolis, where my worlds combine. My baseball and my NFL worlds, they came, right? Because Shohei, of course, amazing hitter, 3-time MVP, and when he's right on the pitching mound, he is freaking filthy. Well, Travis Hunter, for those of you that aren't familiar with him, just won the Heisman Trophy at Colorado. He's going to be a top 5 pick in the draft. He is arguably the most talented player in the draft because he plays both ways. He's a 1,000-yard receiving receiver, and he's an amazing defensive back as well. Little raw in that area, but still exceptionally great. Could be the top corner available, a lot of people feel like, if he just focused on that. He plans on playing both at the NFL level, and I'm not talking about dabbling on one side of the football. He wants to play both. So the discussion about Travis Hunter, Shohei Ohtani, whose job is tougher, came up at the NFL Scouting Combine. So if you couldn't hear the question, he was asked, what's tougher, is what Shohei Ohtani does in baseball or what you do in football? And that was Travis Hunter's answer. Go ahead.
Oh, I don't mind the answer. What, you don't want this guy to be confident? Like, when did we stop wanting people to be confident? I don't understand it. Like, I am so on this guy's side. Like, yeah, he's like, what I do is harder. This is a mindset that you have to be an elite athlete. Okay. And like, I actually think it's not like a terrible statement either. I mean, I think cornerback is maybe the most physically demanding position, or I don't know if that's the right way to phrase it. Like, you have to be such an incredible athlete to be able to be a lockdown corner in the NFL. Okay. It's actually very similar to hitting in a regard where, like, you don't really control the variables. So there's some things you can control, whether you're bumping at the line or whatever, but like you don't know necessarily the route a guy is going to run. You just have to figure it out. Like, it is an incredibly difficult job, and the NFL is harder on your body than like baseball. That's baseball has its things. Okay. It's a long season and it's a lot, but football is harder on your body. That's the truth. I would say that the only qualm I have, I guess, with it is, like, Shohei has won an MVP. So, like, is he going to win an MVP in the NFL? And people have done what he's trying to do. Nobody's ever done what Shohei's done, and Shohei's just done on such a high level. So, like, if he is the top cornerback and the top receiver in the league at the same time, then man, I'll be ecstatic for the guy. So I don't know. I have no problem with what he said, mainly because he has to be confident, and I like that. But I'll say that Shohei obviously has proved a little bit more.
He's also 21 years old, Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
He doesn't turn 22 until May.
I'm in,
Let's
dude.
not turn this into something that's not like, well, Travis Hunter believes that football's tougher than baseball. And let's accept it for what it is. It is greatness on so many levels. This is what we should be appreciating. Like Travis Hunter, Charles Woodson won the Heisman Trophy at the University of Michigan in the late 90s. He bested Peyton Manning. I think it was the 97 Heisman Trophy because he played a few offensive snaps a game. He was an incredible cornerback. But if he had just been a cornerback, he would not have won the Heisman Trophy. Travis Hunter played over 110 snaps per game. 110 snaps. He wants to do both. I don't think he'll be able to do both at that level of the NFL just because it's so physically demanding, and he weighed in at 188 pounds this weekend. So I'm not so sure that that can happen. But I love it that he does have that confidence. And at the same time, let's not treat what Shohei does as, well, just because it's baseball, it's not that hard. You have been around pitchers the day after they throw 7 innings. Some of them can't move really well. And they certainly aren't going to go swing a bat 5 times against guys that are throwing 97 with movement. Shohei not only does it, dude never takes a day off. He could sit the day after he pitched. Remember at the beginning of this, we were like, well, we'll see how it works out. Maybe he won't hit the day after he pitches or something like to let him get his body right. That doesn't even factor into the equation anymore, Trev.
I also think it's a better discussion would be like if he played quarterback and cornerback, because I think that's kind of the better comparison between the two, right?
I'll tell you what I think it might be.
Pitcher and hitting.
Yeah.
I said hitting and cornerback are comparable because you don't control the variables, and then quarterback because you have the ball every snap.
Yeah. Here's what I would say it is. I think it's quarterback with pitching, and I think it's edge rusher in the NFL. And I think that because those guys, even the best in the world, don't play every snap. Like Max Crosby of the Raiders is one freak. There's games he goes without taking a single snap off. But Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, some of the best edge rushers, they'll play 89% of the snaps, right? They don't play every snap. When you're a cornerback, you're basically out there every play. Now, they could put him in some sort of package where he's only playing 15 or 20 snaps or something like that. I can't wait to find out because I love what we've seen out of Shohei at this level, and I am so thankful that we are around to see this, and it didn't happen in the 1910s when we don't know if it really happened or anything. We don't know what sort of competition they were playing against. But I can't wait to see what Travis Hunter does.
I'm excited too. I am.
He's going to be awesome. And he's supposedly a great kid too, on top of everything.
Let him. And guess what? Football is more physically demanding than baseball. Okay, just end that debate right now.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. All right, let's talk about comfort where it matters most. Your underwear. Skims, the official underwear partner of the NBA, the WNBA, and USA Basketball, and the brand known for revolutionizing shapewear, has now launched a line of men's underwear that's about to change your daily routine. Skims offers 3 distinct fabric blends, each designed with your needs in mind. Their cotton blend provides lasting comfort for everyday wear, while their stretch fabric gives you that perfect fit that moves with you. And for you fitness enthusiasts, the sports fabric wicks away sweat and offers light compression for your workouts. So shop Skims Men's at skims.com. Let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey, select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. So there you go. Enjoy Skims. I know I do. I wear them all the time. And in fact, Michelle's like, damn, okay, boy, I see you working. What are you laughing at back there, Michelle?
Oh my gosh. She's like, I've never said that to you. She's like, those words have never come out of my mouth.
She just snorted. You like my Skims. I do. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I feel like you put them on and the girls are like, all right, you're in the know.
Girls, plural?
Don't do that.
Aaron Judge's spring debut. It was a rousing success. I'm kidding, guys.
Oh, geez. Arousing?
It was a rousing success.
Oh.
This on the heels of bad news for Giancarlo Stanton, who's going to miss opening day with a bad elbow. So without Stanton, who becomes New York's second most important everyday position player?
Oh, man. I think that there's so many answers you could give. Like, initially my mind went Paul Goldschmidt, because if he can be like a threat in like the 5-hole, like that just lengthens the lineup so much. If he can kind of like be, obviously not returning to MVP form, but like if he can be a cog in the middle of the lineup, I think that helps a ton. Then I went to Jazz, like at the top of the lineup. But I think it's Cody Bellinger. Again, just because you need somebody in the middle of the lineup, someone who I believe will be behind Judge. Like that's the most important part of the lineup, because there's going to be times where people don't want to pitch to Judge, and what can you do after that? So I guess I'll go him and Goldie in one answer, just because one of them is going to have to drive in runs at some point during the year when people are not pitching to Aaron Judge. So I'll go with that as my answer. Although I think that's the fascinating part of this Yankee roster is they need a bunch of these guys to step up.
I think I'm going to cheat a little bit on this one and say Austin Wells, in part because his defense is so important in handling the pitching staff. And I also believe, they don't have a proven backup behind him, right?
Okay.
They got rid of Trevino, and he had some decent time up there in New York. They traded him to Cincinnati, so they got Jackson in return, and he's a guy who's been a good defensive catcher, but he doesn't even have a full season worth of games in the major league level, I believe, and he's not a stick at all. If they end up going that direction, and I don't think that they fully have. So Wells ended up with a slightly better than league average OPS last year. Did have a 3.5 FWAR. July and August OPS, unbelievable, over 900, and then he just hit the shitter. September, October, it was barely above 400. He was 6 for 50 in the playoffs with 22 Ks. I know guys get worn down behind the plate. We see it every year, particularly with young guys who aren't used to having this sort of workload. He's got to be better. He's a powerful left-handed stick, and I think he's growing into a good defender. I think he's a really, really important piece for them. Really important.
He's another guy that's going to be in the middle of the lineup, but I agree with you on the no backup, and he can be a cheat code for the Yankees. If I always said that on this show, if you have a catcher, that is offensive minded as well as can get the job done behind the plate, you have a leg up on pretty much every other team. There's a few teams that have that, but if he could be that guy, it's huge. I think it's great for the Yankees, and these guys that are in this lineup. Someone's got there is the opportunity to be an absolute machine run, driving in runs. Who's going to step up and take that role for them? I think it's probably one of, if not the biggest storylines that the Yankees are going to have this year.
Yeah, and here's what I don't like, and I understand it. Juan Soto, it'll be interesting a decade from now to see how Yankee fans look at that 1-year stop in the Bronx. They're like, oh yeah, it was great. He was awesome. That 1-2 punch was incredible. It was cool. He got us back to the Fall Classic, even if we didn't win it all. Or they're like, fuck that guy. We're better off.
Well, I think probably both. Knowing Yankee fans, there's always going to be at the end, yeah, but fuck that guy. But I think they should appreciate what we saw. Judge and Soto hitting back to back is pretty insane if you think about it.
Incredible. And we talked about that. We talked about it for years on this show, how Juan Soto makes the rest of your lineup significantly better. Significantly better. Just guys being around him, it seems like it rubs off. So we'll see.
They're for sure at the end going to say, fuck that guy.
Yeah. As our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, just yelled in our ear. F him. Let's move on. Bo Bichette. Welcome to the home run party this spring.
Bichette drives the ball down the left field line. It's hooking. And it's a fair ball. That's a home run for Bo Bichette.
By the way, if that's a regular season game, I think it's a foul ball. I couldn't tell. I lost it.
Yeah, they might review that one. Those pants are him and Carlos Santana have a competition for who can wear the shortest baseball pants of the year. That's incredible.
Yeah, pretty soon they're going to both be sporting jorts, the baseball pant version of jorts.
I asked Santana, I said, because last year they looked like every time I came back to broadcast games, they got smaller. I'm like, dude, are those shrinking in the dryer, or like, are you hemming them even more? And he kept just rolling them up a little bit higher. I don't know what it was, but hey, it worked for him last year.
That's funny. That's funny. The big question with Bo here is that both he and Vladdy are headed in the last year of their respective deals, right? We already know where Vlad sits with this. He's addressed it in spring training because he might be on his way out. Isn't it even more important that the Blue Jays lock up Bo Bichette right now to say, hey, at least we kept one?
I mean, I would like if they locked him up. I don't think it's like a dire need for them because at least we got one is not kind of how like you want to run your organization. I don't think. It's interesting. I'm a huge Bo Bichette guy. I'm a fan of his. I think when his swing is right, it's one of the prettiest swings in baseball. I think this is going to be a good year with him. There has been a few rumblings as of late. Possibly moving Jimenez over to shortstop and moving Bo to second base, which would be, I can't tell if that'll be good for his free agent contract or bad. Versatility is always a good thing. I think a better year. Well, I think a better year at shortstop would help him more, but I think teams already have envisioning him, if you sign him as a free agent, moving him off of shortstop. So I think that's already out there. So would I sign him just to sign him? I don't know. I think if I'm the Blue Jays, you have to see it. I want to see what he looks like this year. I want to see if things are truly like a one-off. I want to see if if this reset of a brand new year is going to bring back the Bo we've all known, an 800 plus OPS guy that, I think can make some plays at shortstop. There's been some inconsistency there to say the least, but if I was the Blue Jays, would I lock him up? Depends on the price tag, I guess. I think that's really what it comes down to. I think what he's going to be looking for, I don't think they're going to be willing to pay, especially if they want Jimenez to be their shortstop. So I don't think they will. But whoever gets Bo Bichette's going to be happy. That's my thought process.
All right, so twice.
You just have to look at it the right way. You can't look at him as some like incredible defender at shortstop. Like you just can't look at him that way.
Well, and if he's not that, what is he right now? Trev, we have to be honest here. And he can get it back. It has been a year and a half since he has been a really good baseball player. The last month he had higher than a 730 OPS was July of 2023. That is a long time ago, bro. That's a long time. And it doesn't mean he can't get back to it. Last year, he was a sub 600 OPS guy. He had never been below 802 prior to that. Twice he has led the league in hits. He's an all-star a couple of times. He's got great energy, even though he freaking cut his hair, which drives me nuts. But the rest of it, I don't know. I have no idea. Okay, I'm going to read to you some of the contracts of shortstops. Mookie's at 365. Lindor, Seager, Trey Turner, all over 300. Witt and Correa over 200. Then you got Adames at 182. Swanson at 177. Story and Baez at 140. That takes you through the top 11 contracts. Would you pay him anywhere near $140 million right now based on what you've seen the last 18 months?
I don't think that's far-fetched. I mean, he's going to be, 27 when he's a free agent? So you're talking about a 7-year, $20 million a year deal for a guy that I think is going to hit this year. I think is going to be a hitter. Now,
I know, but that's not what you're paying right now. You're paying for a guy who hasn't hit in 18 months right now.
Well, no, I'm saying if he finishes this year with an 800 OPS, I think he can get 7 years, 140. Yeah, I think you'll figure the position out. I think he could be a second baseman. I think he could be a third baseman. I think he could do those things. I don't think that's an outrageous contract for him if he comes back and hits this year. I mean, if he has a pedestrian 750 OPS, then I think it's going to be difficult for him to get a long-term deal. I think he's probably going to have to settle for a 1-year deal with a couple opt-outs, if I'm being honest.
God, I can't believe that's where we are with this kid.
I
didn't see that.
We're only here because, yeah, he had a bad year last year, going back into 2023 a little bit. But I believe big time in a Bo Bichette bounce back year.
I don't think that Toronto. I don't think that they'll. I think there's a better chance, to be honest, that he gets traded than they hook him up to a long-term deal during the season. I don't think he'll get traded, but I think if I had to choose between those two options, I think there's a better chance he gets dealt.
Just all depends on how the year goes. And I've said this about other players, and I think it is true of Bo as well. He's been in that organization for so long. There's like complacency that sets in, whether you want to believe that or not. Like, I think that after a year like he had last year, that's a wake-up call, number one. And going into a walk year, that's a wake-up call. And then if he goes to another team, like, I think there's all these things, the injuries were there obviously as well, but there's all these things that kind of, I think, worked against him mentally last year that I think will be different this year for him.
Have you heard why he cut his hair?
I didn't.
I'm sure it's out there.
Don't love it either, for being honest.
It's no bueno. Brother, bring that back.
Yeah, bring the flow back. Swing's still pretty, but I like that. I like the locks in the back.
He's got the same smile, though. He's a consistent smiler in team photos.
Side smile.
Great call on that. Side smile.
Bo, don't lose your swag, bro. Like, come on.
Dude.
You had one bad year. Like, keep it tight, bro. Let's go.
Did you hate photo day?
Oh, it's the worst, dude. It's 7 a.m. and you're like, cameras all in your face, and it takes an hour and a half to get through all the stuff you have to do. It sucks.
Yeah, life can be tough for you ball players. I don't know how you deal with it.
Look at me right now. Actually, I've looked so bad the last 2 weeks. I've been like dealing. I think I have like bad allergies or something. You can hear it in my voice. Look at these eyes. Like, I need to get back. I feel you.
Hey, brother, you're running out of time. You're 38, right? You'll be 39 in June.
38, yeah.
Okay. You're running out of time. You're a really good-looking guy, but once you get on the wrong side of a certain number, I'm not going to tell you what number that is because I don't want you to freak out. You're not quite there, but once you're on the wrong side of this number, it's over.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
I have allergies right now, and you're telling me that I look like shit the rest of my life.
I did not say you look like.
Bit. I'm gonna go take some Claritin. I'll come back, and you'll be like, "Damn, look at this guy."
Will you listen? Did I say that you look like shit right now? I don't even.
do.
I wouldn't even have brought that up if you hadn't said something about the way you look.
It's the eyes.
Hold on, Michelle. Trevor's still a good-looking guy, right?
Yeah.
Is that yes question mark or yes? Yes. Yes, you're allowed to say it. Yes. You got a yes.
Say what's on your mind, Michelle. Say what's on your mind.
What's on her mind is she wants us to wrap up this show so that we can go to the gym. Get my fat ass in the gym.
Let's do it then.
All right. Well, we're almost there. But first, I want to tell you that today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. In a society that glorifies hyper-independence, it's easy to forget we're all better when we have a support system behind us. So think about your favorite leaders, mentors, idols. They don't have all the answers, but they do know when to ask questions or seek support from their community. Therapy isn't just for major life curveballs. It teaches you to set boundaries like a pro, become the MVP of your own life. It's kind of like having a personal coach to spot winning traits in others and develop them yourself. BetterHelp makes this process as easy as watching a game from your couch. With over 30,000 therapists and 5 million people helped worldwide, they're knocking mental health goals out of the park. So build your support system with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/baseball today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/baseball today. All right, we'll finish it up with this interesting story. It was first reported by ESPN over the weekend that Pete Rose's family has asked Commissioner Rob Manfred to reinstate the all-time hits king from baseball's ineligible list. Of course, Pete Rose passed away in September. How big a story would reinstatement of Rose's name be to the game?
I think it depends on the generation that you're talking about. I think the younger generation probably they would understand it, but I don't think it would, cause, a massive reaction. But I think for guys like, like your age, I think it's a big deal. I think guys like me
Hold on,
who,
were you about to say no offense, your age?
yeah, I don't know. I feel like you always get mad at me, but like in your generation, it's the truth. I mean, you guys saw this guy play, and it's. I think that's the difference. If you saw him play, you hold him to a different degree. I didn't really see him play. Obviously, I understand the history of the game and know what he brought and what kind of player he was, and the respect that he has around the league from players is something. So I think it just depends on the generation. And I mean, at this point, we are so far in with gambling houses that it almost like seems silly that we're not reinstating this guy. That's my take.
I understand why people would make that argument. I don't live there. I just don't.
It's like if guys in jail for a criminal marijuana offense, like, and now
I don't think that's
state
it.
is legal. I think what's the difference?
I don't think it's the difference is that you had a manager that was betting on games, and people will say, well, none of the 52 games that he bet on, according to the Dowd report, he bet on his team. Well,
yeah, there is a difference.
Except that he knows who's healthy, who's not healthy, things that are going on in the sport. I'm sorry, it feels filthy. You think you would be okay with baseball players betting on baseball games today is what you're telling me. That's the way I'm reading what you're saying.
That's not exactly what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, aren't you literally betting on yourself to do well? Like, it's the same thing. Like, if you are betting and throwing the game, obviously that's the line. But betting on yourself to win, what can you do? What can you do? You're gonna try as hard as possible to win.
What
Like,
about
that's
the days that you're
gist of
not
the
betting
game.
on yourself? What about on the days that you're
Well,
not feeling your best and you know it? That's the whole point.
So
We
you
don't know
bet on
this.
yourself because you're not feeling good that day.
Okay,
It's an interesting discussion that I think has a lot of nuances to it.
I would agree with that.
Can you say nuances, or just nuances, the plural of nuance? I think
It's a nuanced discussion is, I think, how we should phrase it. I will agree with that part of it. I gave my thoughts on Pete Rose when he passed away. People know he was like my favorite player growing up. He really was. I wanted to be Pete Rose, not just because I have a brother named Pete Rose. I loved the way that he played the game and everything that came along with it. I just don't think he should, even posthumously, I just don't think that he should be in the Hall of Fame or even be eligible. So even if, he would first have to return to eligibility, and then he would probably go on the Classics era ballot, right? Because he's already off the baseball writers. They would have no say in this. It would probably be the Classics era. So the earliest we would probably see him up for the Hall of Fame would be in the winter of 2027 and then getting in 2028. Would it be wonderful for his family? I'm sure it would be. I still would say no. I'm sorry. I would say no. But I do think that it would be an enormous, enormous story. I do.
Okay. I always say, like, ask the Hall of Famers. Shouldn't the Hall of Famers have more of a say about who gets in the Hall of Fame?
You would think so. One of the interesting things the Heisman Trophy does, they allow winners of the Heisman Trophy to vote for the Heisman.
Seems like a smart thing to do. I don't know.
Yeah. But I believe for this Classics era that they do have.
There's a committee.
There's a committee, and that would include, I believe, several Hall of Famers. So there is representation there.
Yeah.
At the very least. Nobody will ever debate how hard Pete Rose played the game. That's not the question. Nobody wanted to win more than him. It's just, bro, there's not that many rules you got to follow, but that's a big fucking one that is staring you in the face when you walk into the clubhouse.
I agree with you on that point. I'm just saying, I don't know.
I know. I understand that it feels
the accomplishments on the field. were so high that I think that you have to take it into consideration. How about that?
Okay. I also think you have to draw the line somewhere. And I am
there's a lot of guys in that Hall of Fame that had a lot of things
Totally.
going on that we probably don't even want to know.
I hear you, bro. It's not a perfect system. It is not a perfect system, and I am for second chances. But at the end of the day,
Sure doesn't sound like it, Chris.
yes, it is. But does everything deserve a second chance? Everything? Particularly when the only time he ever
No, I mean,
admitted
right here, this guy will say no.
Okay.
There's a few things that second chances. There's a few things I think it should be. Nope,
I just
we
have
need
to
get
leave
into
it
that
with
right
this.
now, but
Pete Rose never admitted to gambling on baseball until he could profit from it by writing a book. That doesn't If he really was remorseful in the beginning of this whole process and admitted and pointed the finger and said, I'm the one that screwed up and I will do everything in my good graces to make sure that people don't travel down the path that I did because I screwed it up and this sport meant more to me than anybody. He didn't do that until he could make money off of it. So it obviously wasn't that important to him. And I do think that by the end, I think Pete Rose kind of liked being the martyr for this whole thing. I think he enjoyed it. For years, he would do autograph signing sessions the weekend that they enshrined players in the Hall of Fame.
I think he would have enjoyed being part of the Hall of Fame ceremony much more than that.
Yeah, but I think that he felt like, well, this is still pretty good.
He's trying to make the best out of his situation. That's all anybody can do, Chris.
I get it. And
Party
I
on.
haven't even gotten to the personal side of Pete Rose, which
I know that.
We talked all about that.
We have talked about that.
All right. That'll do it for today. We're inching closer. 3 weeks from Thursday are the first games here in the States. We have the Dodgers and the Cubs going at it in Japan before that. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready to go for sure.
Okay.
I've gotten all my Twins broadcast scheduling done.
Oh, I love that.
Everything's coming.
Any games in Cleveland this year?
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay.
I don't even think I have them. I don't think I'm calling any games with them either.
You want me to be your stats guy for a game?
No. We have plenty of awesome people that work with us at MLB.tv.
You just said no.
Yeah, I don't want you to work for us. No. we work together enough, okay? We're done. We're done.
We'll see everybody later this week for our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, our awesome intern, Sawyer. That is the uber-talented Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose. We'll see you later this week on Baseball Today.